Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Today, we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, entitled Questions by Vidura, Text 18. It's January 28th, 2022. Text 18, Chapter 1, Canto 3. Pureshu Punya Upavana Adri Kunjeshu Apanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarasu Anantalingai Samalan Kriteshu Chachara Tirtha Ayataneshu Ananya Pureshu Punyo Pavanadri Kunjesh Vapanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarasu Anantalingai Samalan Kriteshu Chachara Tirthaya Tanesh Vananya Pureshu Punyo Pavanadri Kunesh Vapanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarasu Anantalingai Samalan Kiteshu Chachara Tirthaya Tanesh Vananya Pureshu Punyo Pavanadri Kunjesh Vapanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarasu Anantalingai Samalan Kriteshu Chachara Tirthaya Tanesh Vananya
Pureshu Punyo Pavanadri Kunjesh
Pureshu Punyo Pavanadri Kunjesh
Apankato Yeshu Sarit Sarasu
Vapanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarasu
Anantalingai Samalan Kriteshu
Anantalingai Samalan Kriteshu
Chachara Tirthaya Tanesh Vananya
Chachara Tirthaya Tanesh Vananya
Pureshu Punyo Pavanadri Kunjesh
Pureshu Punyo Pavanadri Kunjesh
Vapanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarasu
Vapanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarasu
Anantalingai Samalan Kriteshu
Anantalingai Samalan Kriteshu
Chacharatyataneshvananya.
Chacharatyataneshvananya.
Pureshu punyo pavanadri kunje.
Pureshu punyo pavanadri kunje.
Apankatoyeshu sarit sarasu.
Apankatoyeshu sarit sarasu.
Anantalingai samalankashkriteshu.
Anantalingai samalankriteshu.
Chacharatirayatanesham ananya.
Chacharatyataneshvananya. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, Text 18. Would someone online like to chant the verse? Okay. We'll go to the word for word. Pareshu.
Pareshu.
Holy places like Ayodhya, Dvarka, and Mathura.
Holy places like Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura.
Punya,
Punya,
piety.
piety.
Upavana,
Upavana,
the air.
the air.
Adri,
Adri,
hill.
hill.
Kunjeshu,
Kunjeshu,
in the orchards.
in the orchards.
Apanka,
Apanka,
without sin.
without sin.
Toyeshu,
Toyeshu,
in the water.
in the water.
Sarit,
Sarit,
river.
river.
Sarasu,
Sarasu,
lakes.
lakes.
Anantalingai,
Anantalingai,
the forms of the unlimited.
the forms of the unlimited.
Samalankriteshu,
Samalankriteshu,
being so decorated.
being so decorated.
Chachara,
Chachara,
executed.
executed.
Tirtha,
Tirtha,
places of pilgrimage.
places of pilgrimage.
Ayataneshu,
Ayataneshu,
holy lands.
holy lands.
Ananya,
Ananya,
alone or seeing Krishna alone.
alone or seeing Krishna alone.
Translation. He began to travel, this is referring to Vidura, Saint Vidura. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dvarka, and Mathura. He traveled where the air, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus he performed the Pilgrim's Progress. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. These archer forms of the Lord may be considered idols by the atheists, but that does not matter for persons like Vidura or his many other servants. The forms of the Lord are mentioned here as Anantalinga. Such forms of the Lord have unlimited potency, the same as that of the Lord himself. There is no difference between the potencies of the archa and those of the personal forms of the Lord. The example of the post box and post office may be applied here. The little post boxes distributed all over the city have the same potency as the postal system in general. The duty of the post office is to carry letters from one place to another. If one puts letters in post boxes authorized by the General Post Office, the function of carrying letters is performed without a doubt. Similarly, the Archamurti can also deliver the same unlimited potency of the Lord as when he is personally present. Vidura, therefore, could see nothing but Krishna in the different archa forms, and ultimately he was able to realize Krishna alone and nothing else. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitams Chan. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatayubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Glavani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, Text 18. Pareshu punyo bhavana trikunesva bhangatoyeshu sarit sarasu ananta lingai samalan kriteshu chachara tirtha yataneshvananya. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna, through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura. He traveled where the air, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus he performed the Pilgrim's Progress. Hare Krishna. All right, so, okay, well, interesting point of interest. Prabhupada's last sentence, thus he performed the Pilgrim's Progress. Okay, so I read this before coming here. So I have the book on my shelf. The Pilgrim's Progress. Okay, so it's quite a book, and it's we can assume that the Pilgrim's Progress by John Govinda, that Prabhupada studied this. He went to Scottish Churches College and like that. I think it after the Bible, this might be like the bestseller in all of Christianity. Over the centuries. So so Prabhupada's specifically, referencing the title there. And so this idea of a pilgrimage, so Dhira is on pilgrimage, and in one sense, so in a sense, this is a prequel to Canto 1. In Canto 1, we have after he goes on pilgrimage, he goes back to Hastinapur, and he meets Maharaj Yudhisthira, and this is after the Battle of Kurukshetra. And Maharaj Yudhisthira says like Tirti Kurvanti Tirtanti. So he says he sort of says, why do you need to go on pilgrimage? Wherever you are a place of pilgrimage. Wherever you go, you are a place of pilgrimage. And that gets to the essence. It gets to the essence of this book too. It's like it's an allegory. It's an allegory of a pilgrimage, and the protagonist's name is Christian, and his wife's name is Christiana. Okay, and they go out, and they and essentially it's an internal journey. It's essentially it's an internal journey, and they made different characters. They go to a Vanity Fair. There's many terms from this Pilgrim's Progress that have become well known in English. Vanity Fair. It's a place where you can buy everything you want. You can get anything you want. Wow. Anything you want is available.
Like Walmart.
What's that? Like Walmart. Exactly. It's like Walmart. Yeah, that's a nice, perfect. Yeah, it's like Walmart. A super maha mega Walmart. Then, yes, okay. Then on the period, wow, did I say I went here? Then I realized none of this is going to, none of this is going to like satisfy me. Like none of this is going to satisfy me. Prabhupada uses the term a lot in different teachings. He uses the term unnecessary necessities. So a few weeks ago, I think Patrick Prampura posted on Facebook, there's actually a franchise called, and the store is called Unnecessary Necessities. And the byline is, if you need it, we don't sell it. That shows a lot of self-realization, shows a lot of awareness. So that store, I mean, it just, you know, the only difference is like that store is honest. Right? Because 99.999% of the places where you might go, like the Walmart superstore,
They go until you need everything.
yeah, right. But they if they were more honest, unnecessary necessities, right? So that's the thing. So in the pilgrimage, I mean, it's been decades since I read this, but yeah, but basically they realize like this won't make us satisfied, like nothing at all. So we're not going to buy anything. Then they get arrested. They get arrested because just like if you don't play this game, you're causing disturbance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you don't buy into this game, you're causing a disturbance to everyone.
No disturbance.
Yeah, right. So like, no, this isn't. No, this is too unsettling. You're a nuisance. You're a nuisance, and their crime is like they're not buying anything, like that. And then they run into like, you know, different personalities and towns that represent greed and lust and deception, and represent, let's call it, pseudo spirituality. Something that looks like Jesus, but it's not. Right? So it's like it's all there, and it's quite a profound. It's ultimately an internal journey. Ultimately, an internal journey. Internal to come to the place where tirti korvanti tirtan ti. Yes, tirtani. Yeah, that tirti korvanti tirti, where. The idea of this whole process of bhakti yoga, or any genuine spiritual process, is to come to an inner consciousness where we are a touchstone, where we are a place of pilgrimage, and that's what Prabhupada emphasized. That's what the idea of places of pilgrimage. This is there in every spiritual tradition, you know, the idea. And yes, so it was about a month ago, we had our Christmas special morning program. We sang some songs, and it describes about Jesus in Bethlehem. So many songs about Nazareth. Of course, in our Vaishnava tradition, maybe just Lakshmi Priya, just Jaya Radha, Madhava, Kunja, Bihari. In a sense, it's talking, it's honoring, celebrating great places of pilgrimage, the village of Vrindavan, Govardhan Hill, Jaya Radha, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Shamakun, Radhakun, Giri, Govardhan. Okay, so special places where God and or his pure representatives enact pastime. So there is special potency when we chant there, when we read holy books there. There's special potency, so it's not to be minimized. In the Judaic tradition, right? There's songs about Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, Shelza, Veshel Chanot, Nahoshet, Veshel Or, Ekol Ha-Shirayim, Ani Kineret. Jerusalem, city of gold, and for all of the songs, I am the violin, and like that. So just like worshipful mood towards like that. So that's So that's part of the, that's an integral aspect. It's an integral aspect of the process of genuine transformation of heart. There's special potency there. Okay. Now, it's like the book Nectar of Instruction starts in, that's the Upadeshamrita. It starts in those very grounded places. Vacho Vegam, Manasakota Vegam, Jivan Vegam, Yo Vishahit, Jivan Vegam, Sarvam Apimam Pitivim Sasisha. That Jiva Vegam Udara Pasa describes, like, so spiritual life starts with controlling the tongue, being conscious of what we eat, being conscious of what we speak, not indulging in prajalpa or gossip. And this is where spiritual life begins. Good. Okay. And controlling the mind and the force of anger. Right? Of course, anger, like every emotion, it's essentially a divine energy, and it can be used for spiritual purposes. But anger uncontrolled, then we pollute our whole body, and we pollute the whole atmosphere. Controlling the mind, controlling the eating, the belly, the genitals. So that's where spiritual life starts, and it's a short book.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. So if we miss that, you can try to go to Radhakund. But that's the thing. So the book culminates in Radhakund. Rupa Goswami describes Radhakund. It's the most sacred place in the universe, the most sacred place in creation, Radhakund. It's important to understand that Radhakund, it's not about like, okay, how much is the plane ticket to Delhi? I'll go to Radhakund. Like, we can't essentially get to Radhakund with a plane ticket. Okay. I was at Radhakund. This was, remember, an early visit. And some guy tried to sell me stuff. Anyhow, so like lots of things can happen in the holy Dham. The holy, just like the holy name. See, because our entrance, so ultimately Radhakund's a consciousness. So our entrance to the Dham means the holy land. And so our entrance is through the name. Our entrance is through the name, through the names of the Supreme, through the names of God. That's what Prabhupada emphasized most. That's what Prabhupada emphasized most, through chanting and hearing. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravan Kirtanam Vijanta Stuya Bhadrani Vidunoti Sarit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who was the Paramatma super soul in the heart of all living entities, personally cleanses the heart from material contamination. For the devotee who is thoroughly honest and who has developed an attraction to hear and chant his names, hear and chant Krishna's names. And so Nama, Rupa, Guna, Dham, Leela. So that's why Prabhupada, our current link to the Parampara, and that's important. That's important, that because as a general principle, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharacha Vidim Vida Kantaki Harir Bhakti Utpataya Kalpate. That Prabhupada describes, the Shastras describe, even if we're practicing Bhakti Yoga in a way that's not authorized by the Shruti, the Smriti, the Pancharatra Vidi, the Puranas, that's not authorized in a disciplic succession, then the word used is disturbance. That even it could look like bhakti, just like the Pilgrims Progress, as examples, like well, it looks like.
Looks like a real thing.
Yeah, it looks like what?
It looks like a real thing.
It looks like the real thing. Yeah, so that takes intelligence. It's really margarine. Yeah, you got these brilliant analogies today, Molly. Margarine. Yeah, the right on target. Right on target. Look, margin. That looks. And yeah, so that requires intelligence and sincerity to be able to make a distinction. And so, in one sense, it doesn't require that much intelligence, because like the main thing is sincerity. Krishna says, "Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pridipurvakam datami bodhiyokam tam yena mamupyanti." He says, if you're sincere, I'll give you the intelligence. So let's not get too proud of our intelligence. Like, means if you're sincere, I'll give you the intelligence to make proper distinctions to come to me. So we're fortunate. We have Srila Prabhupada, to whatever extent we want to accept Srila Prabhupada as our current direct link to Sri Krishna's parampara. And in one sense, whatever, like my intelligence is this, that, but okay, let me follow Srila Prabhupada.
It's a safe place.
Yeah, it's a safe place. And so, we don't need to go to like, oh, well, what mantra should I chant today? I need to figure it out. Let me study the Vedas to feel it. Like Prabhupada's representing the Vedas. Chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Chant Nrsingadev mantra for spiritual and material protection. Study Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe this year, let's study this one and that one. So Prabhupada's giving us a program. And wherever we go, let's say outside of the direct shelter of Bhaktivedanta Swami, that we are what it means to accept, serve, honor Srila Prabhupada as our current link to the parampara, is we see and process everything. We see and process everything through the pure lenses of our current link to the parampara, Srila Prabhupada. To the extent that we're not doing that, then we'll probably be disturbed and create disturbances further, and our progress will be slow, or we'll go on different distracting, deviant paths, as described. Again, Prabhupada references Pilgrims Progress in the verse today. Quite an epic literature. So we hear, like with Vidura, so he's going to the different holy places. And so again, essentially, Prabhupada's guidance is like, make your house a holy place. Make your house a place of pilgrimage. Make your body a holy place. Make your body a place of pilgrimage. It might also sometimes be our service to, let's visit Vrindavan. Like, let's get a plane ticket. Let's visit Jagannath Puri. Let's visit Yerushalayim, Shel Zahav. Let's visit Nazareth, Bethlehem, like that. You're excited? Yeah, right. And that's okay. So that might sometimes be our service. And at the same time, like Prabhupada didn't emphasize, like in the name of visiting holy places, to abandon our service wherever we are. Because a holy place really means wherever devotional service is happening, wherever devotional service is taking place. Yeah. So I guess I have some, because you got excited about the Bethlehem, Nazareth, Jerusalem thing. Well, especially Bethlehem, Nazareth. Yeah. So I guess I have some interesting relationship with holy places, because like I have experience like going to places like Nazareth, Eretz Yisrael, and distributing books about Vidura. Right? We distributed first canto, third canto. We would go to Nazareth, and I grew up in Philadelphia, and in the distant suburbs of Philadelphia, there's Nazareth, Pennsylvania. There's also Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Even if you have places like in Florida, there's places called Spring Hill, which essentially means Tel Aviv. So all these places. But yeah, so I'm not talking about Nazareth, Pennsylvania. or Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, we would go to Nazareth. There's Nazareth Takti, which is the old city, like where Jesus preached. There's Nazareth Elite, which is an affluent Jewish suburb. And it's on the hill, and they kind of overlook things like that. And but we would go to Nazareth Takti like that, and we'd do Harinam. The nuns, the sisters in the different convents would come out and join us in Hare Krishna Harinam in Nazareth, because they got this is it. This is chanting the names of God, chanting the names of God. So, yeah, and in 2002 we were in different holy places together in the Mayapur area. Malini and I, we were with some devotees, and visited the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Also, I've done like barefoot parikrama around Govardhan Hill. So these are like samskar type experiences. Like the same. Actually, just yesterday, I conducted a coaching session with someone who's anyhow, part of the theme of the session, we got to states and stages of consciousness. So and emphasizing that stages of consciousness is more vital, that's more important. And so like, I'm going to say, the essential purpose of like, if we do the plane ticket thing and go to a place, a holy place, whether Beit Lechem is house of bread, Beit Lechem, okay, and or Vrindavan, Mathura, Jagannath Puri, because like sure that the spiritual practices are magnified there. Nonsense, life alienating practices are also magnified there. So like if we go there and do nonsense, that's not a good idea.
And we see a lot of nonsense in those places.
Yeah, exactly. We do. Yeah, remember in 2005, I conducted a Saftra Foundational Seminar at Govardhan Hill. It was like 60, 70 participants. Well, there were some youngsters in their 20s or so. I'm not talking about 12 years old, but like in their 20s, youth. And they came the first day. And I could tell they were under the influence of the ecstasy of the holy name. I don't think so. But they were like, I mean, when they left after day one, they were like, oh man, this was like the coolest thing ever. And none of them came back the next day. But they were like, this is cool, but so many go there to engage in such activities. No, so certainly the effects are magnified. It's like one and different, because the idea is to make our house, make our body into a temple, into a tirtha kravanti tirtanti, tirtani, to make it into a holy place. Yeah. At the same time, Prabhupada will sometimes stress, like, to chant in Vrindavan, it's different than chanting in London or Paris or New York or like that. Special potency there, Lord's pastimes, non-different from Krishna. The idea is like, to create an experience, if we go there, such that we're more enthused than ever to come back to wherever our service is, in Florida or California or Europe, or to come back wherever our service is, more enthused than ever to be steady in practices and services that enhance our stages of consciousness for ourselves and others. I say that because there's I've seen some where it's like, kind of like their whole life is about going on pilgrimage. And they'll go into big debt and things like that. And again, we're not minimizing the power of going on, like, Dhira and like that. and like twice a year with their. I remember when this was someone. This was like 15 years ago. I told someone that he was thinking about like participating in some of the software programs, and he really wanted because he heard about it. But finances were an issue. Finances were an issue, and he was married with 4 children, and twice a year he went to do a whole pilgrimage circuit in India. No, if we get like someone like high level affluence in like a Western country, like to go to India for 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks per year, twice with your family of 6, like they could dream like maybe if like things go really well financially in 20 years, I'll be able to do it. So he was like, no, twice a year he did that. And like, I'm not criticizing that per se, but then like, don't tell me you don't have Lakshmi, because you know you're doing things that cost finances. But then see, he would come back, and then the whole thing would be like, then his life was in shambles. His life was in shambles, including even his sadhana, other than those few weeks once he was on pilgrimage. So the idea is, okay, if it's our service to visit one of those dhams, or a few of those dhams, the idea is to get more enthused than ever to come back and be more inspired than ever to raise our stages of consciousness, so it's not like a sort of epiphany crash sort of thing.
And to give to others too.
Yeah, to share with others. That's key. Yeah, to share with others the Radha-kun consciousness, the Vrindavan consciousness, and that's in the line of Srila Prabhupada. Right, he left the holy dham, and he came to the West. He came to New York. He came to Europe. He left holy. He came to share with others Radha-kun consciousness, Vrindavan consciousness, or to relate to this verse, Ayodhya consciousness, Dvarka consciousness, Mathura consciousness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because otherwise, if it's just about our bhajan, for most of us, myself for sure, will go dry. So Prabhupada, he saw that some of us might have some influence of Rajagun. We might have some Rajagun. So dovetail that in racking our brain how to share bhakti yoga with others, the philosophy, the mantra, the prasadam, how to share with others, and then just common saying about love: the more you give, the more you have. Right? So with material love, that's not true. With material love, the more I give, the more resentful I become. But if it's genuinely spiritual, then it's true. The more I give, the more I have. So even if I look at the past 35 minutes, right, and I get this blessed opportunity to share Srimad Bhagavatam, share about Vidura. So I'm feeling filled up in myself because I get this opportunity to share. And so Vidura is going on pilgrimage, and he's visiting the different temples with the deities. The first line of the purport, very powerful. These archa forms of the Lord may be considered idols by the atheists, but that does not matter for persons like Vidura or his many other servants. Yeah, his meaning Krishna's many other servants. So yeah, it's like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Rajavijayam Pavichamidam Uttamam Prajakshavagamam Dharmyam Shushukam Kortumyavya. Says this is the king of knowledge, it's the king of education, this is the perfection of spirituality, it's the perfection of the essence of religion, because it's joyfully performed, it's eternal, it doesn't have a beginning and a point in time, and it's directly experienced, it's experiential learning, it's the experiential learning model. It's the origin and source of the experiential learning model. This idea of idols, right? So well, actually the deity is this, or actually the chanting is this. I have some psychological explanation like that, but someone's following the process, and a devotee like Vidura directly experiences, just like Prabhupada gives the example. We eat a full meal, then we have an experience, my belly's full. So we don't need to go into the, someone says, well, physiologically, I'm not so sure. I mean, we can, what percentage of the belly is actually filled up with, just like, I'm telling you, I'm full. Okay, it's directly experienced. And so Vidura, he's realizing Krishna everywhere. Adantarasta parmanu chantarastam. Means Krishna is in every atom. Krishna is in the heart of all living entities. So the purpose of all the processes, including going on pilgrimage, including fulfilling a commitment to chant a minimum number of rounds of the names of God per day, including morning program, is that more and more each day as our life goes on, we're realizing God everywhere. And so in one sense, someone like Vidura, as we've discussed, he doesn't need to go to the temples to see the deities. He's realizing the deity everywhere. He's realizing the deity everywhere. And so he's realized, it's Prabhupada explains in the purport here, right? So God, Krishna is fully potent to be fully manifest in any of his energies. And if he wants to be fully manifest in the form of Gaur Nitai, then Krishna gets to do that. If he wants to be full, and that's true for the pure devotee of Krishna too. That's true for the pure devotee of Krishna. That's why also on the altar, like I think I've shared this in some recent classes, but I was not raised with spirituality or religion. I was raised in a good family, nice like that, Reform Judaism, bar mitzvah, that sort of thing, but quite secular. But the one thing I learned is like to not worship idols. So on the altar, right, there's forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure representatives, Srila Prabhupada, 6 Goswamis, Srivas, Pandit. So because they're pure devotees, then they're completely present in their Murti photograph form. Now, if we're putting on the altar any personality, picture or form, that has any tinge of the modes of material nature, even a slight desire for, I want to be appreciated, or I want to be glorified, or adoration, even slight desire for profit, adoration, distinction, which are called like subtle forms of sex desire, then we're doing idol worship. And even in my Temple Beit Torah Hebrew school, which was not like very powerful spiritual experience, let me tell you. But even in Temple Beit Torah Hebrew school, I understood we're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to worship the golden calf. So that actually, as we described fairly recently, maybe in some class, this idol worship means to worship something material. So in the Old Testament, in those 10 commandments, one of them is don't worship idols. The actual Hebrew uses the term al panai, where God is saying to Moses there, he's saying panai means face, just like panai means face. So and al means, it's like al panai means the negative. So he's saying don't worship any face except for my form, except for my face. So in the commandment, that's often used to illustrate that God has no form. God's actually saying, I have a form, I have a face, serve that, worship that, and don't worship the golden calf. Don't worship Walmart. Don't worship whatever, anyone with any, yes, any, randomly you came out with that, yes. Okay, anyone materially influenced, then that's idol worship. That's idol worship. Yeah, so Janmadhyasa Yata, what exists in the effect must exist in the source. So we have form, so therefore the absolute, the supreme personality must have form. And then we get, and so those forms are revealed, those forms are revealed as we do the Pilgrim's Progress, as Dhira is doing. And those forms are revealed. And so we're encouraged, to purify our existence. Serve, honor, respect, worship the pure forms, not the idols, not the idols. Yes. Okay. Well, I'll read this verse again. Canto 3, Chapter 1, Text 18, Srimad Bhagavatam. Praveshu punyo pavanadrikunjesh vapanka toyeshu sarit sarasu anantalingae samalan kriteshu chacharatita yatanesh vananya. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna, through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dvarka, and Mathura. He traveled where the air, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus he performed the Pilgrim's Progress. So Dhira is realizing Krishna everywhere. He's realizing God everywhere. And the process Prabhupada's given us is about to more and more. Sure, everything is God, but is the way I'm relating to the different energies and people, is that supporting me and others to realize God's omnipresent, Krishna's omnipresence more fully, or is it moving me to greater forgetfulness of the connection of everything with God? There's a purport in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, but Prabhupada says, one who sees everything as Maya rather than seeing everything as Krishna is an offender. So everything is Krishna. Okay, philosophically true. There's Bhagavad Gita describes your grandmother's Krishna, your father, your grandfather's Krishna. That's there. Okay, right? Everything Krishna, just like everything's the sun. I could say that the flower is the sun because it's a manifestation of the sun's rays. Okay. So then the science of spiritual life, the science of self-realization is cultivating realization of the art and science of how to relate to the different energies of Krishna in a way where I constantly deepen my realization of how everything is God, of how everything is Krishna. And to the extent we do that, then naturally we're joyful. But it's not a cheap thing. It's not a cheap thing. So let's see, check a chat here. Thank you. Yes. So thank you for your attention. I welcome any questions or comments at this time. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anandini.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is quite extraordinary. I want to share something personal. I've been contemplating to go on a time out, a retreat. And I wasn't thinking in terms of pilgrimage, but lately, this aspect came to, so just a time out that's not inspiring. I want to do something that's nurturing for my body and my soul. And so I had set an intention today. I will make a clear decision whether to do that or not. And it's an Ayurveda retreat in India, and it's in a town where there's lots of Chaitanya school, Chaitanya. It's not a place of pilgrimage I ever heard of, but it seems that it's on the route where Lord Chaitanya traveled.
Yeah.
And so today I'm here with this contemplation, yes or no, and you speak about pilgrimage, and so I feel like this is some Krishna magic happening, giving me, like strong information so that I can take a decision.
Okay, thanks for sharing your personal process, which relates to the Pilgrims Progress that Prabhupada's talking about. Yeah, these particular verses are just so, I could not avoid speaking about pilgrimage. These particular verses go there. And so you're seeing that this is not an accident, that Krishna has arranged this particular Bhagavatam verse and discussion to support you in coming to clarity about this your relationship with making this trip, which you're saying, like, it's kind of like Ayurveda Retreat, and it's not like a known pilgrimage place, but it seems to you it was on Lord Chaitanya's South India travel tour. So you're seeing this as some divine arrangement here.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Anandini. Gajendra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, good morning. So I'm looking at this idea of pilgrimage, and I understand the sort of classic sense of, like, physically taking a journey for some time, visiting holy places, being on a vision quest. I also look at, maybe it's a more essential aspect of it, at least one aspect of it, which is sort of changing your situation, changing what your normal life, what your condition, the environment you're in, and wanting to change that, go on a quest for a new experience, new insight. The different experience one might feel is restoring. And so I look at that as pilgrimage, and that's not so much about the length of time or the physical location. In one sense, just taking time out on Ekadasi or the Sabbath could in essence. I'm also looking at this idea, and it was popping into my mind when you were talking about the perfect fixes a couple times a year, India, and that is that our environment, where we're at, how we're setting ourselves up for spiritual life, for Krishna consciousness, or living in a world that is where we're not feeling the challenges that define material existence. And so I look at this, it's just a thought sometimes that I have, where I feel like the ultimate pilgrimage would be to go to the place described as like Krishna Loka. I've never, heard description of Krishna Loka where people are like struggling financially, or there's, bad news on TV again. It sounds like this really, really place. And I tend to think that if I was in this place and the rivers are running pure and the trees are brilliant and effulgent and all the other people there are, Shri types, very beautiful, that I don't feel like I would need to take a pilgrimage from that place once I've made it there. And I also kind of feel like if I just had that, even right now, I would be so content in the situation I'm in. I don't think I would want to make trouble. And so sometimes I just sort of wonder, why I'm even in the world that I'm in, where I am experiencing, the challenges or being exposed to, difficulty. But I think that's ultimately, I want a one-day pilgrimage, sort of my goal. And I sometimes I do wonder about why the material world exists. Like, who would really not be in that ideal place all the time? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Gajendra Prabhu. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate what you share personally and philosophically. Yeah, essentially it's this pilgrimage is an internal journey, whether the Pilgrims Progress book, or as Prabhupada described, it's an internal journey, and sure, maybe sometimes making the external journey supports us in our internal journey. But Prabhupada cautions, not to just superficially like make it like I checked it off my list or something. I've gone to Mathura or Dwarka. So essentially it's about an internal journey towards Goloka Vrindavan, and purifying the heart, and getting to, you mentioned Rupa Goswami's description of Radhakund as the most sacred place in the universe. Essentially, there is a Radhakund. Essentially, it's a consciousness. It is an internal journey. Thanks for sharing the essence. I appreciate. Hare Krishna. Other questions or comments or realizations? Parampara Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just having a thought when you were sharing about pilgrimage, especially. So just whenever you were talking about the Christians in, Israel or Jerusalem or whatever, just Christians in the Middle East, it kind of sparked something for me, because I can imagine myself or some of my Christian family, going on a pilgrimage to Israel, to Jerusalem, to Bethlehem or Jerusalem. And I actually, I saw this, documentary or something where, like, it was Billy Graham's sons who are big, big preachers and things like that. And so they were on a pilgrimage to the holy places there. And in one sense, like, how foreign it is, they're Christians, they're like top Christians, American Christians,
Yeah.
for them to go to the holy place in Israel is so foreign. It looks strange, it's a different language, different culture, but they're big Christians, and they're pure as whatever, standards that we have, in Christianity. And so I was just thinking about that of, if I was to go, I grew up in a Christian family. If I go to these Christian holy places, how foreign it would be for me, how strange, like even the way we practice, for like a usual American church goer, driving in the SUV with the car and a nice, shirt or slacks, and then once, on Sunday, and then going out to eat afterwards. And it's like, compared to what's happening really, like, in the holy place, I could just imagine like those nuns, or like, it's also very fascinating to me, like, the idea of those Israeli Christians, or like Christians in Palestine, that area, it's very fascinating, like how rich and deep that experience must be. So I just think about that, how foreign, how different that experience is, and then just think about how Christianity came to be spread. At one time, Christianity was just for Jewish people who followed Jesus. They were just whoever the Jewish people were that decided to follow Jesus as their rabbi and as their master. their spiritual master, and then what are the reasons for having it spread? So, and then sometime over time it spread, and a lot of times those reasons were political or whatever. Constantine played a big role in that. Anyway, there's a whole history to like how Christianity spread. At one time, it would have been ridiculous to think of anybody outside of that region being a Christian or you're following that kind of following Jesus. So just kind of think about that and comparing that with the spread of Krishna consciousness and Srila Prabhupada bringing it to America, and just seeing really there's no difference between how Christianity spread and like why we're in America practicing why it seems common in America to practice this Middle Eastern Jewish tradition that, from a rabbi named Jesus, why that is seen as common, but then some Indian Swami brings this Indian thing over, but it's just really there's no difference. It's just separated by time by a couple thousand years, or even for America, less than that, a few hundred years or whatever. So it sparked that in me, and it's interesting to me.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Parampara. I'm very moved by that. I appreciate you just to bring those historical currents together, and certainly like being in. We actually, when we would go to Nazareth, we would stay. If I remember correctly, it was at a convent. It was convent. It was convent, so it was nuns. There were also some priests there, but it wasn't a monastery. It was a convent of the Italian sisters, and we would do Mangalarti in their in the church room, and it was right next to the Church of the Annunciation, which is a beautiful church, really more than beautiful, like really impressive, right there in Nazareth, where Mary. God announced to Mary she's going to give virgin birth, to Jesus, like that. And so, so it was like a different experience than like, the Christianity I experienced in like Dixie County or somewhere. And so, so even like this name Jesus, no, it relates, even this name Jesus. So whatever the pronunciation is, it's not Jesus. Right, because like in the Hebrew, there is no letter J or G. It's not there. So it's like Yeshua. But then it became like, well, this is how we pronounce it in Alabama, so that it must be it. And so, but then it gives quite.
You have blue eyes and he has the white skin.
Yeah. Well, I'll share. So thanks for sharing that, Parampara. And that parallel between how Christianity came to lands that are very foreign to Bethlehem and Nazareth and Jerusalem. So similarly, Gaudiya Vaishnavism spread all over the world through, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so since your blonde hair, blue eye comment, Malini. So at the Church of the Annunciation, I'll just share that we would go there in the morning and chant our japa before going home, book distribution and like that in Nazareth. And so there's different like corners in the courtyard and in the church donated by different dioceses from different parts of the world. And so there's one place built, donated, funded by, I guess, the Catholic Church in Japan. And Jesus looks strikingly Japanese. And there's one place donated by like Ethiopia, and Jesus looks startlingly African. There's, and then in one place he looks like he's from Southern California somehow or other, and like that. So it's Malini.
I just want to. Often you speak about like Srila Prabhupada came to the West and gave us Krishna.
Yeah.
And then for us, our responsibility to give Prabhupada to the world.
Yeah.
And, hearing Prabhupada's comment, like, Jesus was chosen, is chosen by God to bring the message, a certain message of God to the entire world.
Yeah.
and he preached in the Middle East and
Yeah.
whatever. And then how important it is for us to always remember and always spread the news of Srila Prabhupada
Yeah.
came to bring Bhakti Yoga
Yeah.
to the West and nobody else. And he was the chosen, like God, I was thinking in terms of the chosen. So Christ is the chosen for what? Chosen to spread love of God.
Yes.
And then Srila Prabhupada is chosen to spread love of God in the form of Bhakti Yoga and precisely to give us a process that's given to the people of Kali Yoga who are so ignorant of spiritual science of chanting Hare Krishna. And I'm thinking like the essence of us giving that process need to be like, I don't have power.
Right.
I don't have power. Like you said, I'm an idol. If someone was putting a picture of Mary Dashi on their altar, it's just like, okay, idol, because of the material contamination, and the power is in like using our life to support people to get in contact with the pure devotee, to get in contact with the person who was chosen by Krishna to spread his holy name around.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking.
Interesting.
And yeah, like so much of the Christianity around here. Why are you choosing something coming from India? Why are you choosing something coming from Palestine? What's the difference? It's just Mahabharata is 2,000 years. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. And then at the same time, yes, the chosen for this age is Srila Prabhupada, is ambassador, is the captain of the ship,
Yeah.
according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's vision.
Yeah. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melanie. Thanks for that. Yeah. And followed up on Prabhupada's comment. Jesus did not speak English with a southern accent.
No, he didn't?
No, he spoke Latin. No, he didn't speak Latin either.
Yeah.
No, because there's different misconceptions.
Yeah, in France, they're
Misconception.
completely about the
Right.
Latin thing.
Right, but even the whole Rome thing, that's pretty foreign from Jesus. I'm not saying they're not representing Jesus. We can't make a determination.
They killed him.
Yeah, right. So, but they, so he actually spoke.
It's interesting,
Yeah.
the Roman killed Christ.
Yeah,
And the Roman are the stage for Christianity for hundreds and hundreds of years.
yeah,
As being the one who gives the authority of Christianity
yeah.
to Latin.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Interesting research topic there. Yeah, a lot of research has already been done.
But
about that.
parallel too.
Yeah, right. So that's why just because this we're making jokes like difficult to imagine Jesus and St. Peter in the stands calling for a blitz or something like that. Whereas kind of like Christianity, you do like barbecue, football, and like real Christianity, So even like the whole meat eating thing, there's sometimes I'll share with pious, sincere Christians. There's the picture of Jesus with the lamb. So I say, so it's obvious Jesus has gone to that rock over there to bash the lamb's brains out because he wants lamb chops. Right? So it's like it's a gross thing, but I do that to make a point.
Very graphic.
Okay, it's like okay, so then how come you're eating lamb chops and you're calling yourself a Christian if that's so obviously opposed to the mood of Jesus? So like to get to that's what we're talking about, to get to the essence. And the essence isn't intrinsically about language. Or if someone doesn't pronounce the name, they pronounce it Jesus rather than the way it was pronounced. But they have, I know many sincerely pious Christians who are so advanced, like that. But it's about getting the essence of Jesus and the essence of what Prabhupada gave us. And that's why where we started. Yeah, in our Pilgrims Progress. I'm showing this book a lot today because Isho, which reminds Anandini's making up. I read that in Aramaic, Jesus was called Isho, which reminds me of Isho as an Ishopanishad translated from God. Thank you, Anandini. In Arabic, and I think there might be Arabic speakers here, better than me, but in Arabic, Jesus is Isha, like Ishopanishad. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. Very relevant.
Prabhupada makes that point about Isho.
Mhm.
What does Isha mean in Sanskrit?
Well, Isha can mean controller. It means like one who's kind of like, could be like a Goswami, a controller of material energy. Ishvara Parama Krishna, like that. It means given from God, given from God. Isha means controller. Yeah, so let's to preserve the essence of what Jesus gave, and to preserve the essence of what Prabhupada gave, because already in the name of Prabhupada, there's so much deviation, and so we need to be sincere, do our best with our intelligence, and be sincere, to be guided by Prabhupada, to be able to make distinctions, like what's really going to be an authentic path here. Hare Krishna. I appreciate our association together. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.